Kobe Bryant was not supposed to become a Laker by accident. That is what makes this trade so dangerous in hindsight. In 1996, Charlotte selected a teenage guard with the 13th pick, then sent his rights to Los Angeles for Vlade Divac. At the time, it made sense on paper. The Hornets wanted a proven center. The Lakers needed salary space, a cleaner roster, and a path toward Shaquille O'Neal. But Jerry West saw something most of the league was not ready to trust a high school kid with an obsession that felt almost unnatural. Divac helped Charlotte immediately. Kobe needed time. But once the gap closed, the trade became impossible to defend. One team got a useful big man. The other got 5 championships, a global icon, and a franchise identity that still echoes today. Bill Russell did not look like a normal trade at the time. He looked like a defensive specialist entering a league obsessed with scoring. Boston wanted him so badly that Red Auerbach worked around the draft order, sending Ed McCauley and Cliff Hagan to the St. Louis Hawks for Russell's rights. St. Louis was not careless. McCauley was a local star, and Hagan became a Hall of Fame forward. The Hawks even won the 1958 title. But Boston had just unlocked something bigger than a good roster. Russell turned defense into an empire. His rebounding timing and psychological control changed how championships were built. 11 rings later, the trade no longer felt clever. It felt historic. The Hawks got greatness for a moment. The Celtics got the architecture of a dynasty. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar forced Milwaukee into the kind of decision no franchise wants to make, trade a generational superstar before losing control of the story. By 1975, Kareem wanted a market that fit his life better, and Los Angeles became the destination. The Bucks received Elmore Smith, Brian Winters, Junior Bridgman, and Dave Myers. That was not a worthless return. Winters and Bridgman became productive players. But the Lakers were not just acquiring a center. They were acquiring gravity. Kareem won MVP in his first season in Los Angeles, and even before Magic Johnson arrived, the franchise had its next pillar. Milwaukee stayed respectable, but never replaced the force it lost. This trade reminds every small market team of the nightmare scenario: sometimes the best player in the world can still walk your future out the door. Julius Erving was not traded like a normal superstar. He was sold because the Nets were drowning financially. After entering the NBA, the franchise faced heavy fees, including payments tied to the Knicks' territory. Then ownership failed to resolve Irving's contract situation, and suddenly one of basketball's most electric players became a financial escape route. Philadelphia paid $3 million and walked away with Dr. J. The result was brutal. The Sixers became instant contenders, reaching the finals in his first season and later winning the 1983 championship. The Nets collapsed, won only 22 games, and eventually relocated to New Jersey. This was not just a bad basketball move. It was a reminder that money problems can erase a franchise's soul overnight. Shaquille O'Neal did not leave Los Angeles quietly. He left behind the end of a dynasty, a broken superstar partnership, and a Lakers team suddenly forced to choose Kobe Bryant as its future. Miami saw the opposite, a rare chance to pair Shaq with a rising Dwyane Wade before the rest of the league could react. The Heat sent Lamar Odom, Karen Butler, Brian Grant, and a future first-round pick, then watched the power balance shift almost immediately. Shaq made Miami credible overnight, nearly won MVP, and helped to deliver the 2006 championship. The Lakers eventually recovered, but only after absorbing the shock. This trade was not just a breakup. It was the violent closing of one NBA era and the opening of another. Kevin Garnett turned Boston from a frustrated team into a predator. Before the trade, the Celtics had Paul Pierce young pieces and years of disappointment. Then they sent Al Jefferson, Ryan Gomes, Gerald Green, Sebastian Telfair, Theo Ratliff, 2 first-round picks and cash to Minnesota. On paper, it was expensive. In reality, it was the price of changing the room. Garnett brought defense rage accountability and a standard nobody could ignore. Boston won 66 games and captured the 2008 championship in his first season. Minnesota got pieces but not direction. The Timberwolves were rebuilding. The Celtics were transforming. This trade helped create the modern super team blueprint: stop waiting combine stars and chase the banner before the window disappears. Pau Gasol looked like a gift wrapped in confusion. In 2008, the Lakers sent Kwame Brown, Javaris Crittenton, Aaron McKie, 2 first-round picks cash and the draft rights to Marc Gasol to Memphis. The immediate reaction was outrage. Los Angeles had just handed Kobe Bryant the skilled big man he desperately needed, and the league watched the Lakers reach 3 straight finals and win 2 championships. But the twist came later. Marc Gasol became a franchise cornerstone, and Memphis won Defensive Player of the Year and helped build the grit and grind era. So the trade was not pure robbery. It was stranger than that one side got banners, the other accidentally found an identity. If you like NBA stories like this, subscribe, more are coming. Kawhi Leonard was the kind of gamble that usually terrifies front offices. Toronto gave up DeMar DeRozan, Jakob Poeltl, and a protected first-round pick for Leonard and Danny Green, even though Kawhi had just missed most of the previous season and could leave after 1 year. On paper, it looked ruthless. DeRozan was loyal, productive, and beloved. But Masai Ujiri was not chasing comfort. He was chasing a championship. Kawhi delivered one of the coldest playoff runs in modern NBA history, ending with Toronto's first title. Then he left, and somehow that did not ruin the trade. The Raptors rented a superstar for 1 season and got forever in return. That is the kind of risk only a banner can justify. James Harden was not supposed to become the face of Houston. He was Oklahoma City's 6th man, a brilliant scorer, sitting behind Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. But when the Thunder could not agree on his extension, they chose financial control over long-term star power. Houston sent Kevin Martin, Jeremy Lamb, 2 first-round picks, and a second-rounder, then gave Harden the ball immediately. The result was shocking. Harden jumped from elite role player to franchise engine almost overnight, eventually becoming an MVP and one of the most influential offensive players of his era. Oklahoma City stayed competitive, but the dynasty ceiling cracked. This trade still feels wild because it was not about talent evaluation. It was about money timing and fear. Paul George was not just traded to the Clippers. He was the price of Kawhi Leonard's commitment. In 2019, Los Angeles sent Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps to Oklahoma City. That is not a normal package. That is a franchise saying we cannot afford to wait. At first, the logic was obvious. 2 elite wings, 1 title window, and a chance to own Los Angeles. But the results never matched the cost. The Clippers blew a 3-1 lead in 2020 and never reached the finals with that core. Meanwhile, Oklahoma City turned the deal into a rebuild machine. The trade became terrifying because the Thunder did not just survive it. They won the future. Paul Pierce arrived in Brooklyn as a name that still carried fear, but the body behind that name was no longer in its prime. The Nets believed Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Jason Terry, Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, and Brook Lopez could shortcut their way into contention. Boston saw something colder, an aging opponent willing to mortgage tomorrow for one desperate run today. The Nets won 1 playoff series, then faded. The Celtics waited. Those picks eventually helped Boston build around Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum the exact kind of young core Brooklyn had sacrificed. Years later, Boston won the 2024 championship with that foundation. This trade was not just expensive. It was a slow-motion punishment for impatience. Anthony Davis was the rare trade where the price looked massive and still made sense immediately. The Lakers gave up Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and multiple first-round picks because LeBron James needed a second superstar before the window closed. New Orleans did not walk away empty. Ingram became an all-star, the Pelicans gained draft control, and their rebuild suddenly had real flexibility. But Los Angeles was not paying for patience. It was paying for June. Davis defended, scored, switched, protected the rim, and became the exact missing piece in the 2020 championship run. The trade was crazy because both sides could argue they won. One team got a future. The other got a banner. Dirk Nowitzki was the kind of draft night risk that either makes a front office look brilliant or ridiculous. Milwaukee chose the safer-looking body in Robert Traylor, a familiar college force. Dallas trusted something stranger, a tall German forward whose shooting touch hinted at a future the league had not fully imagined yet. The Mavericks acquired Nowitzki's rights, and at first there was no instant explosion. Dirk had to adjust, struggle, and prove that his game was not a novelty. Then he became the face of Dallas basketball, an MVP, a champion, and one of the players who changed how big men were evaluated. Milwaukee got a short-term role player. Dallas got a basketball revolution. Chris Paul did not just change the Clippers' roster. He changed their reputation. Before 2011, the franchise was mostly known for dysfunction, bad luck, and wasted talent. Then the Lakers' attempt to land Paul was vetoed, and the Clippers moved fast. They sent Eric Gordon, Chris Kaman, Al-Farouq Aminu, and a future unprotected Minnesota pick to New Orleans. Suddenly, Blake Griffin had the perfect point guard, and Lob City became one of the NBA's most electric shows. The Clippers did not win a championship, but they became relevant in a way they had almost never been before. New Orleans also found its future when that pick helped become Anthony Davis. One trade gave one team identity and another team hope. Luka Doncic made the NBA feel unreal for a moment. Dallas had just been to the finals in 2024, and instead of doubling down on its 25-year-old superstar, the Mavericks sent him to the Lakers in a 3-team deal built around Anthony Davis. Los Angeles received Luka Maxi Kleber and Markieff F. Morris. Dallas received Davis Max Christie and a 2029 first-round pick, with Utah helping complete the structure. The logic was defense conditioning concerns and avoiding a massive future commitment. But emotionally, it felt like a franchise cutting out its own heartbeat. The Lakers suddenly had a post-LeBron future. Dallas had risk pressure and a fan base in shock. Some trades look crazy years later. This one looked crazy immediately. Trades are never just transactions. They are bets on fear timing, ego money, and imagination. Some build dynasties, some bury franchises, and sometimes one phone call changes the NBA before anyone understands the cost.